According to the 2024 Unit 42 Attack Surface Threat Report, healthcare organizations in Asia are now adding over 200 new digital services each month, significantly expanding their attack surfaces. This surge in digitalization not only enhances patient care, but also increases vulnerabilities, making robust cybersecurity measures paramount for maintaining operational stability and protecting sensitive patient data. The 2023 Cybersecurity in Healthcare Report by the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, highlights that over 80% of healthcare organizations experienced at least one significant cyber incident in the past year. Future CISO spoke to Steven Sherman, Regional Vice President for ASEAN Palo Alto Networks, for his take on safeguarding healthcare continuity amid expanding attack surfaces.
If we're talking about Singapore specifically, you have to understand Singapore has this catchphrase called Smart Nation, which extends and includes the healthcare industry. So most hospitals, healthcare services, etc., firstly digitized, which means your health records are online, and more so applications and services are being provided to citizens of Singapore through a digital framework. So the continuity, the protection of that data and the services is paramount. However, having said that, with 200 new services being added per month, this of course increases the attack surface, which opens up possible vulnerabilities and the potential of a compromise. So well, some of the potential risks relates to the fact that services are being delivered online. So, I mean, when you have an increasing large attack surface, and what do I mean by attack surfaces? I mean, typically, let's look at the traditional manner in which healthcare services are provided. You as a citizen turn up at a doctor's clinic or a hospital, and it's a very physical location. I turn up as citizen Stephen, and you can see me turning up and I'm getting a service. In the world of digital, I mean, you're connecting from various locations. It could be still in person, but it's via a platform. Now, if it's all about visibility. If you cannot see something, how do you protect it? So that's the most difficult thing. Visibility is paramount. So the second part after visibility is how do you monitor and ensure that those particular access points are protected from potential compromise. If that does not happen, what is the resulting situation? Well, the worst case scenario is, of course, you're talking about personal data. As a not a health care person, but as a recipient of health services, think about what you're providing. You're providing your name, your date of birth, your address, probably financial information, healthcare records, potential payment of that service, etc. So I've just highlighted maybe 7 or 8 key data points as it relates to your personal identity. Any of that data being compromised or leaked is somewhat concerning. So it's our job in the world of cybersecurity at Palo Alto Networks to ensure those services are continually provided seamlessly, but at the same time, any of that personal data at all times is protected. And this is the balancing act. Increased efficiency of healthcare services, but at the same time to protect personal data, and that's paramount. So there's two parts, being proactive and ongoing monitoring. Proactive in the sense, as you're delivering more services, you're proactively checking, does this new service potentially open up a compromise? Now think about it, you want to deliver a new service, but you're checking, is that service safe? Is there any potential flaw in how that service is being delivered? Is there potential that particular service could be compromised in the sense data leaking and or someone but circumventing that service to steal something, which we talked about earlier. So that's key, being proactive. Identifying a potential flaw and ensuring that you protect from that potential compromise. Now that may mean better compliance, looking at configuration, ensuring that certain standards are met in order to protect that data. Ongoing monitoring is important because services are never static. Things are constantly changing. People are connecting from different locations, receiving different services. Nothing is static as it relates to digital, so constant monitoring is key. Constant monitoring ensures that, do we configure correctly? Is there a deviation from the level of compliance occurring, and if so, immediately to ensure the right policies in place? Constant monitoring also ensures consistent configuration, consistent policy management, because as new services are added, there might be something that's not in policy. So proactive monitoring to ensure and identify any deviation, constant monitoring to make sure everything is in compliance to a certain policy level. These two things can't go hand in hand, and it's really important to understand that. Yeah, so I mean, there are tools out there. In the case of Palo Alto Networks, we're constantly doing scanning of the network to ensure, firstly, what's in the network and what are the potential points of compromise. I mean, the first challenge a lot of organizations have is they don't even know what's in their network. So that's problem one. Secondly, who is accessing your network? Now, in the case we're talking about healthcare, I mean, all of those citizens we're using Singapore as an example of that, accessing healthcare services, accessing those applications. So there are tools out there that firstly understand what's in your network. And then the second part of that is you're looking at the attack surface in terms of, is there anything in your network that may not be configured and or not at the right level of compliance or within the policy guidelines? That's really, really important. Now, the consequences downstream, think about it. We talked about earlier personal data being compromised. If personal data is compromised, it could be an immediate impact in the sense that money has been lost, your identity has been stolen. But you have to understand, in the world of cyber, particularly the rogue actors and the bad persons, etc., what are they trying to do? So they're taking your personal data, and they may not be using it immediately. They may sit on that data to use it at a later stage to conduct a bad act, undertake a bad behavior. Downstream, the impact is, think about yourself personally. I've been compromised. I may not even know that my data's been stolen. I next year decide to go and renew my healthcare policy, and I found out there's been 13 claims against my name for all sorts of various procedures and medical services, and I find out my health insurance policy has increased by X thousand dollars because I've been claiming. That is an example of a downstream impact if you're being compromised while receiving digital services. You're unaware that your personal data has been stolen, and basically someone's making a claim using my name and my identity. Insurance fraud is a downstream impact of healthcare being impacted because of a cyber breach. That's one example, but there are many, many other types of healthcare services being compromised. The other one, which we perhaps didn't touch on earlier, is, you talk about medical devices in the healthcare industry being connected. Can you imagine if there's a compromise in that particular network and a certain piece of medical device is compromised? Now, it could impact a service, but more so, it could even potentially lead to a risk and someone potentially being so badly impacted that could equate to death. Now, that sounds very, very catastrophic or, somewhat sensationalized, but it's highly possible. Healthcare services is critical infrastructure, particularly in countries that have aging populations. So the provision of healthcare services is ultimately about trust. Are you receiving those services with the highest level of trust? And this is ultimately what we're trying to do in Palo Alto Networks. We're delivering healthcare services at the highest level, ensuring there's an element of trust always.